Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to jump into Twitter. We're going to read some stuff on what's going around in the commodities Twitter space, I should say. Again, I'm a bull in commodities. I think that we've completed the first wave and we're about to start the third wave. So there's some things I want to talk about, some things that I shared on Twitter and retweeted that fall in line with that thinking. So let's jump in. Give you my financial opinion on this stuff. Again, if you want to follow me, it's at finding_finance to see kind of what I'm doing. Now, I want to answer some of these. I do think it's important. It says, choose two: income, wealth, friends, and fame. And in all honesty, fame, I don't really care about that at all. So that can just drop off. So really it's income, wealth, and friends. So then you're going to be measuring what your worth is by certain things. Wealth is something that you have generated and built already. Friends is also something that you've generated and built. And then you've got income. But wealth, by definition, could be with friends. So friends could be a part of wealth. And you could lump friends in with wealth. But I mean, if I had to choose two, I'd choose wealth and friends. Wealth could be your health. It could be your friendships. It could be relationships. It could be family. Wealth. It could be mental health, mental everything. So, you know, it's difficult since this isn't really defined. But if I were to choose two, it'd be wealth because I've already made the money, and friends. Income means that you're working currently and that you're generating some sort of revenue, some income. And I think that if you've got a lot of wealth, you don't need the income. So you can live off your wealth, you can have friends, and that's kind of what makes life fun. Income means that you're working and that you're gonna trade time for money. Wealth means that you already have, hopefully, the money or the currency or the value or whatever you want to say already. So I would choose wealth and friends myself, based off of my own definitions. Looking at this, it says oil's about to hit the gas here. Are you positioned for the move? How are you playing it? Obviously, if you're part of the Platinum membership on the finding-value.com, you know how I'm playing it. But I do think oil is about to take off here any second. We had a nice good 5% move on Friday. And I think that's, whether it's a small down day or whatever happens next, I do think that the momentum is going to be higher. So I was curious on how other people were playing it. A lot of people were playing the Canadian area. So, and I think that's a good way to play it. Gold has fallen from the number 2 spot with platinum replacing it. Silver, well, that just stays right up there at number 1. And what this is the days of world production to cover short contracts. Days of production to cover the short contracts is 145. We've got my two favorite metals, silver and platinum, are right next to each other in terms of the days to cover short contracts. It says the largest trader short versus the days of production. And these guys could have some massive short squeezes if this were to all reverse. So I still like platinum, still like silver, some of my favorite commodities out there, especially my favorite precious metals. Scrolling down here, it says, Houston, we have a problem. The supposed growth in U.S. oil production has not materialized in 2022. Current oil production is only 0.1 million barrels per day above December 31st, 2021, and is down 0.3 million barrels per day from the peak on August 5th, 2022. The ultimate peak in March of 2020. So this is our weekly U.S. field production of crude oil. March got to 13.1 million barrels per day, and we have not been able to increase it. Are we going to go into a terminal decline where we don't eclipse the 13.1 million barrels per day again. That is a possibility. And I know a lot of companies in the United States, shale companies, they are not wanting to grow production because they don't think they've got the drilling locations to grow it very much. So that is very concerning. It's great for oil prices, but it's horrible for the world if we are actually hitting peak oil. And that could also be a tertiary motive for disguising a peak oil problem under, we'll call it an environmental, a climate change problem. The climate change problem could be a facade to get us to change off of fossil fuels as quickly as possible, because they cannot say that we are peaking in oil and that we should be worried. I don't know. That's just me and talking out loud. More bad news out of the Middle East. When the UAE oil minister says the oil industry is in a long-term decline mode, that should destroy once and for all the notion of Middle East spare oil capacity. God hath a sense of humor. Now, this is getting a little bit concerning because I just showed you here that the weekly U.S. field production of crude oil really hasn't bounced back and could be in a terminal decline. Yet to see. Again, I don't know that for sure. We'll have to see. But we also have the Middle East saying, look, it's in a long-term decline. We're seeing these declines happen all over the world. Coming down here, I did post this. These are bullish patterns. And yeah, I've got my theories on why these patterns are bullish and how they kind of work. This is also things that I do on the website. And I'll set up another training session for looking and finding these patterns. And we can identify them all over the place in commodities, in rising yields, and they're all bullish setups and patterns. We also have more patterns that I basically put up. These are bullish patterns. These are bearish patterns. And then reversal patterns. These are all incredibly important because it basically gives you the information or gives you the pattern where herd mentality can turn this thing around. And I think pairing the patterns with also the ratio information, the market condition information, pairing that all together gives you the confidence to kind of hold on. So what you do is you find a reversal pattern, like a double bottom, and then you look for bullish patterns that are mid stride, and then you can see that continuing higher.
So what's my iPad?
We've got interesting theory why Buffett has been buying oil and gas stocks aggressively recently. Why has Warren Buffett acquired giant oil gas stakes in Oxy and Chevron? In 2009, he told Charlie Rose that if, due to geopolitics, 5 million barrels of oil a day got shut off, there'd be a lot of disruption in the world. Right after the Ukrainian war started, Berkshire ramped up its oil and gas buying. So next we have OPEC plus allies. Exports fell by 80,000 barrels per day, month over month, to 8.635 million barrels per day in October. With lower exports from Brunei, as they keep more for their local refinery, and Mexico, despite higher Azeri and Russian exports, according to Petrologistics. So this is non-OPEC exports declining. They were at 10.5 million barrels or so, maybe 10 million on average. Now we're at a different level, more towards 8.75. So to just put this together, guys, if we've got U.S. shale lower, OPEC lower, non-OPEC lower, this does not look good for GDP growth around the world and for oil production. We are going to see a moonshot here, I think. We are short barrels of oil in this world, and I don't see where it's going to be made up. So, yeah, I'm very, very bullish in oil. If you guys want to know how I'm playing it, definitely sign up to the Platinum membership on the website if you want to. It says, your 9 to 5 isn't the problem. The problem is thinking it's the only way to make money. Now, that is huge. Your 9 to 5 job isn't the problem. The problem is thinking it's the only way to make money. My parents think that it's the only way to make money. It's your 9 to 5 isn't the problem. It's the way your mindset is and how to make money. I mean, it resonates very well with me. I know a lot of older individuals, they don't know how to make money off of the internet, or they don't know how to make money off of other things outside of going to work of a 9 to 5 job, or whenever it starts and ends, and work for someone else. It said, even before I called the commodities bear market low back in April of 2020, that platinum will outperform most things in this bull market. Yeah, this pattern looks absolutely beautiful for platinum. We had a massive move higher in all of precious metals. Hopefully this is the beginning of a very big move. And platinum had this false breakout. What gives you the confidence to buy down here? And the reason I bought so much at this bottom, I bought in 2019. I didn't buy much up here, but it fell back down. I bought a bunch coming on up here in 2020, and I bought a bunch here recently. Why am I buying this? The ratios are cheap, and I know where the cost curves are at. That's why this keeps getting support here, is because that's where the cost curves are at. And the cost curves are what will pull back supply. I think platinum looks really good. It says, always know the very big picture. Take comfort in this chart if you feel you've missed the uranium train. You have not. Played right, this commodities bull will get you out of the rat race. Leader Energy Fuels here showing for the potential for uranium. Now, I don't necessarily own a lot of energy fuels. I'm just using this as an example for what potentially could happen. It says the longer the base, the higher in space. And we've got a pretty big base. This one says 26 times to all-time high. I know Energy Fuels has done a lot of dilution, but I'm sure that their company has also proved up a lot of reserves versus what it did back in 06, 07. So I know a lot of people say compare the market caps. Well, it depends on the value of the company. What value does that company now have? And that's really what you should be comparing. It shouldn't be comparing market cap. It shouldn't be comparing to its all-time high. It should be comparing what the value of the company has in its assets versus what the company it has over here in its assets, and how close this company is to producing from those assets and converting it into cash flow. I just described the entire business there. He says, buy coal stocks now. Buying on coal, we're going to be shutting these plants down across all America and having wind and solar. What's really happening, if you look and see what the utilities are doing, the utilities are actually shutting down the coal plants and replacing them with natural gas. And all the coal is being put in place as natural gas. They run their wind and solar to a hub where natural gas power plants are. Natural gas is the swing producer. That's what's the transition. And whenever wind and solar is producing, they run it to that hub, convert it, the direct current to alternating current, and then send it on the power lines. At least that's what I understand. Copper inventories at an all-time low. That's 3 days of global consumption and visible inventories. So here's inventories back in 2011, 2012. You know, I don't really see any problems back in this area, but we've been drawing down inventories substantially. We are at very, very low levels. I don't know if they've ever been this low in the past 50 years. So we're at very low levels for copper and all these other commodities. It's coming, guys, and this is going to be inflationary, I think. Why? Because you've got money in the system, and it's going to chase a lot fewer goods. And the one thing I want everyone to understand here, and there's going to be two takes on it, and I'll talk about it after these next couple of slides here. And it deals with China. So what I want you to do is keep this in your mind: copper inventories, oil inventories, and a lot of these different inventories of materials. It says here we go, and this is tied with copper and nickel and cobalt. Elon Musk just dropped a bombshell. What he's saying is, but it is looking increasingly like that Tesla will need to get into the mining business. This is coming from Tesla and Elon. So what I'm trying to paint a picture here from the data is, we've got oil that's short, and I don't know where the exports are going to come from. We've got inventories coming down in everything: oil, copper, nickel, cobalt, silver, gold, platinum, on and on and on and on. We've got the head of some of these largest companies saying, look, we're going to need to get into the mining business. They see it. And when you look at some of this down here, let me back up here. We look down here, and there's some I want to tie here. And I've got silver's about to crush the NASDAQ. This is a huge falling wedge. It's basing out. The wedge is telling us that the inventories are going down. The wedge is telling us that the inventories are depleting. That's why it's starting to turn and head higher. We're seeing this in absolutely everything. I showed you it in platinum. I showed you it in silver. Now it's just, where are we short? Who's short this stuff? And all the big banks are still short. We're going to see a short squeeze in silver, platinum. We're going to see it in oil. We're going to see it in all sorts of stuff. It says, I realize that Fang Mat bros are all super excited and bulled up that China may be opening up. Do they realize that this simply sends inflation into overdrive and crashes tech? The real selling in tech hasn't even started. This is what I want to kind of piece all together here. All right, I had to come back in. So what Cuppy's saying is, he's saying, when China reopens and we have no inventory of copper, we have no inventory or spare capacity of oil, of nickel, all these different materials, silver, platinum, gold, doesn't matter what it is, right? When the inventories get drawn down and we run these deficits, and if China opens back up, what does that mean? China is more or less the producer of things, the assembly, the producer, the manufacturer of goods. What they're going to do is they're going to draw these inputs for their production. There's no inputs, guys. The commodities are all drawn down. So when they open back up, they're going to say, let's open this back up and start producing again. And they're going to say, give me energy, give me copper, give me all these different inputs. And there's your problem. That's where the inflation comes from. It's not having those, and it's going to pull all those prices up. And I'm sure the Federal Reserve, Powell, I'm sure they know this. And they're going to try to kill demand through interest rates as quickly as possible, but I don't know if it's going to do anything. There's your commodity bull market right there. Oh, really? This had better not be true. This was something Russia has gathered, the technical and forensic evidence showing the UK sabotaged the Nord Stream pipelines with US approval will be made public in the coming days. It's tantamount to an act of war by the UK and US against Germany. This has the dynamic of a new world war. And hopefully that's not true. I don't know. But I just wanted to put that forward. It's obviously possible. Chase cash flows. That's what I've got. Chase some cash flows. It says, got physical, not a big believer in sensational headlines. However, Elliott Management is a very respectable firm. Hedge fund giant Elliott warns of looming hyperinflation. It says, has warned that the markets have not fallen enough yet and the world is hurling towards the worst financial crisis. Why is that? Because inventories are falling. And we're gonna have, I think energy prices are gonna go up dramatically around the world, even the United States. We're gonna see natural gas prices go up. It's gonna get pretty ugly here. And when you look at the entire cycle, guys, and I think a lot of people get this wrong. I was reading some stuff from some other people. They're like, well, I'm going to wait till the interest rates peak and we get this crash. I don't think that's, I think their timing's off. In these cycles, what happens is we see the big moves in commodities when interest rates are going up. And what that means is that your producer price index goes on up, and it goes up because of the commodity prices. And they raise, interest rates are risen, whether the Federal Reserve wants to or not, based off of bonds selling off. So bond sellers sell because of the real negative interest, or the real negative rate. They sell, and interest rates go on up. So commodities lead this thing, the inflation front, so to speak. Now you're going to say, well, commodities haven't been rising much lately. It's because of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve release. They held down the master commodity of oil, which is the inflation driver. So they held that down, and everybody thinks that inflation's kind of subsiding. Oh, it's coming. It's coming, in my opinion. I think that we're going to see we're going to see physical tightness in the markets, which is going to translate to paper markets, which is going to translate into all these different price increases that are going to the consumer price index. And I think it's all ahead of us. So when I look at this, I see low inventories. I see China reopening, which means higher demand for oil. I see inventories of oil very low. We've manipulated what the Strategic Petroleum Reserve releases. The Middle East says, we're going to pull back a little bit. We need to get these prices higher to spur more production of oil. So we've basically sent false signals to the market to not produce oil for longer because of the elections. And we're seeing shortages in inventories of a lot of different materials. So when China opens back up, I think it's going to be inflationary. And it's going to take time, guys. This isn't like the next day it's going to do this. It takes time. It works its way through the system. And then I think we're going to see consumer price index numbers probably go higher after all this starts to move with some sort of lag or delay. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to stop it there. That's all I've got. If you guys need help with this commodity bull market that's coming up and what companies to choose, definitely sign up for the Platinum membership, finding-value.com. Sign up to the website or the channel. Give me a thumbs up, and we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.